2, 1, take one.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So I've got an Excel spreadsheet here that we're going to analyze, and I'll eventually share with you guys so you can open it up in Google or open it up in Excel and be able to use this to auto-crunch some of these numbers. Since you've seen stuff like mean, median, mode before, and rather than you do it by hand, I figure let's actually gain a new skill by learning how to program a little bit in the process. So what I've got here, my eventual goal is to try to make a frequency distribution and then turn it into a histogram. I think I've got a little bit of some fidgety stuff going on with the bar graph, where technically the bars are supposed to be the width of each class, blah, blah, blah. But that's okay. So here we go. I've got a list of numbers, and the way I'm programming this is it will work with a list up to 100 numbers. Technically, I could make it do more than that. So you just enter your numbers in, blah, 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 right? And now we're going to start programming some numbers. Now, it turns out Excel doesn't have a range formula. If I type in range, it gets confused. It can make random numbers. It can rank. It can rate. It can convert to radians. But it doesn't have range. So we're going to have to figure that out on our own. And the way I thought to do it is by doing high and low and then subtracting them. So to find the highest number in this list, there isn't a high formula either. It turns out Excel does have a max formula. All right. So I'm going to have it search from A3 to A103. All right. Which gives me 100 values, right? And it's going to return the largest number. So I'm going to hit enter. And apparently that's 40. What's nice is even if my largest number was somewhere in the middle, like say I had 54 right here, so the number doesn't have to be in order, is my point, right? So it'll still find the maximum number. Question, comment, what? I don't mind. So let's find the lowest value. Let's see, so if there was a max function, there's probably a min function, and there's minute. Actually,
Min. Top one.
I think minute, never mind. Actually, I wonder if I can do minute of now. And yeah, that's right. It's, let's see if I can show that. Yeah, 12:47, the minute of now, right? It's the 47th minute. That's crazy. Because, yeah, I think there's also, like, a today function. Yeah, so it can do all sorts of weird things. But we wanted the minimum function, and I want the minimum of what? The minimum of this list, A3 to A103. Enter. You know what's funny?
Blast.
Yeah. Because I had a date in there a moment ago, it now formatted that cell as a date instead of a number. So it's converting the 27 apparently to a date. Because the way Excel works, it works by its dates work on a serial code system. And that's how it does things.
Blast.
So the way I can fix this, if I hit Command 1, I believe I can switch it. I don't want a date. I think if I hit General, it'll change it back to a number. So there we go. Yeah, it was just like Excel was trying to be smart by formatting stuff for me, and then it was like, Excel, come on.
Dinkelberg.
Exactly. So now, like I said, there's no range function, but how could I calculate the range? Any ideas? If I do B3 minus B5, right, and hit that, and that's the range. So even if I throw in this number like 54, it changes the high, it changes the range, right? All sorts of stuff like that. Let's see, what was that? Probably a 30 or something. I don't know what these numbers originally used to be. No, whatever. Doesn't matter. So now, in order to find the average, now it turns out that mean, median, and mode are all types of averages. Okay? When someone says average, typically, I guess, on average, they're probably referring to the mean. Man, am I hilarious. Mind blown, exactly. So I think there is... Nope, there isn't a mean function. So I think they actually do refer to mean as the average. So I'm going to have it calculate the average of A3 to A103. Enter, and apparently the mean value is 31.95.
What's it mean?
32, you round up.
The mean is if I add these all together and divide by the number of them, which actually that was the next thing I was going to have us do, is what if there wasn't a mean value? The definition of mean, like I just said, is adding them all up and dividing by how many there are. I can actually program my own mean value. So I can have it add them all up, right?
Sum to 103.
A103, yep. And then divide by what? What do I want it to do? You might not know the Excel, but tell me what you'd want it to do.
By the number of numbers.
Yeah, by the number of numbers there. It turns out there's a count function where it will count how many numbers there are there. I could also have count A function where it counts the number of alpha, like numeric sort of expressions there are. So it would count like, if it was like a list of names and numbers, count A would just count the names, and count would just count the numbers. All right, so it would, stuff like that. So I want to have it count the list A3 to A103. And so I hit enter, and notice it is in fact giving me the same thing. So whether I do it by their formula or kind of by our own, it would give me the same result. Does anyone know what the mode is defined as?
The highest.
So
Or
40.
the most that appeared.
The most frequently occurring number. Let's see.
Most.
So it turns out there is a mode function. Actually, what's the month function do? Oh, it needs a serial number, but I could do month of today. It's the 4th month. Not tomorrow, though. I wonder. Oh, it takes only a serial number, though. I was going to try to enter tomorrow's date, but if I didn't enter it as a serial number, it wouldn't work. But there are conversion formulas as well that would switch it. It's true. Well, anyways, so let's do the mode. And as you guys said, it's the most frequently occurring number. Now, I think Excel is kind of broken on this by definition. Let's see. A3 to A103. So it gives me a mode of 30.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Now, technically, actually, let's do that.
33.
33.
Is it a tie between them?
Yep.
And that's the issue, is that Excel doesn't handle bimodal situations very well. All right, so a function either has, or sorry, not a function, a set of data
Rewind.
either has a mode where there's a single number that is the most frequently occurring, or if it's a tie between two, that's called bimodal. There's no such thing as trimodal or quadmodal, so that won't be the case. But Excel doesn't handle bimodal very well, where it will actually miscalculate. It will tell you just one of them. But I was just thinking that it'd be interesting, what if I had a formula count what the number of them was? And watch this. I'm going to make a formula. I'm going to count if, and I'm going to count this range from A3 to A103. And what's the criteria? I want it to count it if it is equal to, I think I need this. And where's my ampersand? Let's see, hopefully I'm programming this right. So if it's equal to 30, it will count. So it's going to count the number of 30s in this, in theory, if I did this right. So there's 5 30s. All right? So I can even change that. I could change this 35 to a 30, and now there's 6 30s. Right? So like count if is kind of a cool formula. So it'll count based off of certain conditions. You can actually even have count ifs. So like I, for instance, would have in the spreadsheet I made for you guys, I will have it count if the grade is from a homework assignment and if it's a perfect 5 out of 5. And then that's how I calculate whether or not you get gold pieces. I've got a count ifs function where it has multiple conditions to it. So anyways, so that's just an extra thing. We don't technically need to know that. And then the median, let's see. Oh, I think this is showing up as white font.
Oh, yeah.
The median is the middle number. Okay.
24 would be 12.
Let's see what's going on.
12, maybe 30.
Let's see. I need black font. There it is. Haha. I had it blanked out. So equals median. So the median is the middle number. So if I have 3 numbers in order, okay, the middle number is very obvious, right? So if there's an odd number in my list, the middle number is pretty easy to calculate. What happens if there's an even number?
Take the two middle ones.
Then you take the two middle ones and do what?
Add them, divide by 2.
You add them together and divide by 2. So if I have an even number of elements,
Crap.
I can't find a middle number because there is none. So I take the two middlest numbers and I mean them, right? Where I'll add them together and divide by 2. So let's see. Let's find the median of this list.
Crap. I screwed that up.
So A3 to A103. And the median is apparently 31.5.
Oh, I was closer.
So that must mean it must have been a tie between 30 and 31. All right? But watch this. If I add one more number, its new middle number...
I called 30.
Sorry, I just said that wrong. It would have been between 31 and 32 to be 31.5. My bad.
Who was right?
So right, once there's an even
31.
list...
I said 31.
Guys. Once there's an even number of them in the list, it's just... Sorry, once there's an odd number of them in the list, it's taking just the straight middle number, right? So, for instance, let's see, if I change this 32 to another 33, the middle number is that 32 there, right? And median only works if you're doing it by hand if the list is in order, okay? Like, I can't just, like, give you the numbers of, like, 7, 24, 1, pi, square root of 2, and then be like, the middle number is just whatever the middle number I said. Like, that's no good, like. That's kind of an arbitrary fact. 1.414-ish. All right. With some change. Yeah. So there's mean, median, and mode. And now one of the things I want to point out, let me actually clear my list.
No.
Meh. Yeah, we'll generate a new list in a moment. Maybe I'll ask you guys, like, what day of the month were you born? Now, I've got a whole bunch of errors here. Means trying to divide by 0, because how many are there? There's 0, and if I'm adding them up and dividing by 0, div by 0 error, right?
Yeah, because you already put the formula in.
So guys, let's say I've got like some midterm grades came back. All right, let's say I got like
81.
14. Let's say, and then let's say I've got like 56.
81.
And then let's say I've got like 70. 71, 73, and then let's say I've got like an 80 and an 80 and an 86, and let's say that's it. Okay? So let's say then the principal's like comes in and is like, hey, Mr. Water, I want to see how your students are doing. What's your midterm grade average? And I was like, oh, the average on the midterm, it was an 80. And I'm not technically lying, because mean, median, and mode are all types of averages, right?
Oh, you need to
So,
the system.
right? So, like, I'm just trying to make myself look better, and I'm just giving the average that sounds best to me, right? So we have to be aware that sometimes data can be, they might try to take advantage of your interpretation or misinterpretation of what they're saying to try to make themselves look better sometimes, where really the mean is the average that he was probably referring to, and he might have, like, I don't know, maybe he'd have a talking to me about it, or I don't know, if I had a lower average.
Well, that's pretty close to failing. 6.25.
Yeah. But I'd be like, psh, come on, be cool, fist bump, and then he'd be like, you're right. And
Your
then-
grading card system is the best.
Yeah, that's what he'd say. So I just want to point out that all three of these are referred to averages, but on average, the mean is the most frequently occurring average. I love just saying things confusing on purpose. Okay. So that's just kind of some basic statistics. But now let's talk about putting this data in a frequency distribution. Okay. So now my lowest number is 14. So if I want to have my smallest class, let's get some, before we do this, let's get some real data here again. There's only like 10 or 12 of us in here. Let's clear some contents. So let's see, going around the room, give me the day of the month you were born. All right, so me, I was born on the 16th. Okay, so let's see.
22nd.
22nd. 28th.
7.
7. 6. 14, yep. Let's see, right here. 30? Oh, there's a high number right there. 24? All right, 30's the one to beat. 3. Oh, wait, and then all the way at the table, what day of the month were you born?
13. Sorry.
13. There we go. Okay. So,
I was born on the 42nd.
wow, man, that's incredible.
31st, born on a leap year, more than 5 years old.
Huh. So you could be like born on like, if you were born on like the 42nd of March, there's just like 42 minus 28, you're just really born on like April 14th or whatever.
Maximum is 31st of
January. 13.
There you go.
You would want.
So, okay, so let's look at the data. So our highest value is 30, our lowest is 3, our range is 27, the mean is 16.3. Whoa, what's up with the mode?
It's not in order.
Well, actually, well, mode wouldn't need it to be in order anyway,
Right.
because it's just the most frequently occurring. But there's no most frequently occurring number here.
So they're all the same.
Right. So they're all equimodal, if that was a thing. And then the median, normally I would need the list in order, but in this case, it doesn't matter. Actually, I think Excel, will this be cool? If I just hit sort, bam, it just sorted it for me.
What?
That's kind of cool. Yeah, mind blown, exactly. So based off of this information, what is the, let's see, my range is 27. If I want to have like, say, I don't know, 5 or 6 separate classes that I'm breaking this into, what should my class interval be? Should I count by,
1 5.
yeah, maybe count by 5s and have it start counting at 1s maybe? Something like that. So it would be, that would be like 1 to 6 is what that would be. So I could have it, well, I guess I can't have it count at 0. But yeah, we'll just have it count by 5s. I think that'll do. So let's program this. So my first class, its lower limit is 1, and its upper limit, how could I program its upper limit here? I'd want the upper limit to be the lower limit plus what?
5.
The 5, right? The class interval. And now in this case, the class interval is the same for all of these. So watch this trick. If I $$ this, it's going to use that as a fixed variable. So when I drag this formula down later, it will always use the same class interval, but it will shift the other variable that we're referring to. All right? So let's see. And then this one is just going to equal that one there, right, every time. And let's drag this down. So let's see. So now I've got both of these formulas kind of dynamically written, and if I drag it down and let go, there we go. So it automatically kind of generated these. So notice, there you were. Yeah, so for our set of data here, it doesn't necessarily make sense. And what's nice is since I program this dynamically, I could be like, you know, maybe having 6 in a class makes more sense. Or maybe having 4 makes more sense.
Or 2.
Right? And I could kind of change that and it shifts things around. Or I could say, what if I just start counting at the 3rd? You know? And that might be valuable. And I'd go up to the, well, 30th. Yeah, that would work out. You know, and depending on how many kind of classes I want or different things, we could kind of change this around, and it's going to change in a moment how many separate bars we have for the frequency, right? So that's actually what's cool too, is I've got that bar graph programmed dynamically as well. All right, question. How could I calculate the class mark based off of this data? What would I do? Equals? How could I calculate the class mark of my first class here, the 3 to 7
Take
classes?
The low limit and the high limit, and divide it.
Okay, so Dylan said this.
Even.
I just broke things. So I could do this plus that divided by 2. Would have to, is that right? I think I would just need parentheses around this. And this would work. And the midpoint of 3 and 7 is 5. The other way I could have done it, if we wanted to use Excel's formula, someone else mentioned we could just have the mean Let's see. There we go. Come on. Give me some nombres here. And the mean of what? Of both of these. And hit enter.
Oh, you broke it.
What did I do, guys? Oh, there is no mean function.
Average.
There we go.
Mine was easier.
And watch, what's cool is, now see how I've got like this white plus sign? If I drag this plus sign to the corner, the lower right corner, it turns into a solid black one. And if I drag this down, it will duplicate this formula to each based off of those variables, and it will kind of really smart fill that out. The other thing I can do is if I double click on it, it will autofill to the lowest point. So say I had like 2,000 rows, and I didn't want to have to like click and drag and then scroll. I could just like double click the lower corner of the box, and it'll just be like, bam, that's where the next lowest piece of data is, right? It's kind of cool little thing Excel does. Okay. Let's see. Is this a good class interval? Let's see what's cool is as I switch that around, it's going to change things. I don't know, maybe count by sixes. Yeah, well, let's count by sixes just for fun. Now, question, could someone describe to me how they would count the frequency for this 3 to 9 class here? How would you have counted that? What would you do? Like, just walk me through your process.
Go to your book, get the formula, plug it in over.
Well, to calculate the frequency, how do I do that? You don't need the book.
Count the number of days that you're like, the number of people that were born in between the 3rd and the 9th.
Yeah.
That's just the frequency.
Okay, so looking at my data, here's one person born between the 3rd and the 9th, another, and another. Right? So there's 3, so I would have put a 3 there. So if I was to program that logic, if you were to teach someone how to do that, you're saying, okay, count between the number of numbers between the 3rd and the 9th. Right? It sounds like that's going to be some count ifs going on there, right? So I'm not going to have us program this, but check out this formula.
Oh my God!
So I say count if, so it's going to count between those. If, let's see, why do I need a concatenate in there? C4. Huh. Oh, man. Oh, that is crazy. I forgot. Not only do, okay, I programmed this in I could have used count ifs. I could have done that. The way I did it was I had it count to the upper mark and then subtract the number of ones below the lower mark or something weird like that. So mine ends up working out. But I have some form of a count ifs taking place, right? The logic that you said, if it's higher than this number or equal to it or just straight less than that number, count how many do that, right? So, and what's cool is if I throw in another number, let's say I throw in, actually question, if I hit 9 and hit enter, what class will that land in?
The 9 through 15.
It would land in the 9 to 15 class. Why?
Because it can't be equal to 9 in the one below it.
Right, because the upper limit is non-inclusive for these classes. Right, so this is inclusive of 3 and everything up to 9, but not including it. All right, so if I hit 9, we should see this 2 go up to a 3. Bam, and it does. Or if I hit 8, we see the first class go up to a 4. And if I do 8.9999, it stays a 4. It counts as a fourth one. All right, so I just want to point that out. Which, yeah, how are you born on the 8.9999th day of the month? That doesn't make sense.
Same way I was born on the 42nd.
Yeah, magic. Well, I guess if we were somehow able to convert the hour and minute that you were born into day, like decimal, right? We could have done that. Where you were almost born on the next day, but you were,
11:59.
yeah, 11:59 and some change there. That could work.
In 59 seconds.
Yeah, it would have been really close. All right, so I've programmed this frequency to calculate dynamically. Also, I want to point out, down here, I had it count the sum of the frequencies. What is this number the same as?
What the mean is divided by.
Yeah, the number
The amount of numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, numbers.
So that should have been the same as this count here. Actually, oh man, I forget. I think if I hit like Command F9, it will calculate just that portion of the formula if I have it highlighted. But I'm not a master enough
It's
to
the
remember that.
numbers.
But yeah, it's going to be the total size of our list, right? So if I hit count, and then A3 to A103, right? The sum of the frequencies should always equal the total number in the list, right? I'm not anywhere counting one of these numbers twice. It's just sorting that data into buckets. And now, as I said, if I create a frequency distribution, if this was a true histogram, these bars would actually be the width of each class. And then that's the other issue is I can't line this up. Like I would want this 3 over here and then 9 over there, right? I'd want those to be kind of like the edges of the bars. I don't know. It was acting all funky for me and it wouldn't do, like I just want to drag that over, but it wasn't. It's a shame. So although I wonder if I probably could go back and fix that a little bit if I had to. But yeah, so it calculates this frequency distribution. So when looking at this, now that's the thing that's interesting. We just finished our chapter on probability. Probability and statistics are kind of like best friends. They're like hanging out, eating lunch together, right? Playing frisbee.
Positive sevens.
Yeah, they're both positive sevens, I'd say. But yeah, they're like really good friends. So like with this frequency distribution, I could now ask, what's the probability of selecting a student in class who was born from the 15th to 21st of a month? And you'd realize, oh, there's one student that fits in that class. I guess I can't have half students here, so that data doesn't necessarily make sense in that case. Out of how many students are there? There were 10, right? One way I could do that is count the sum of each chart, 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2, right? Or we also would counted it up here, right? That also does the same thing. Now, one more thing that we do is frequency polygon is if I connect the class marks, so the midpoint of each bar in the histogram, and just draw like the shape that connects those, that's called a frequency polygon. And you can do different things with the area underneath that polygon. And eventually we'll end up extending that so it's not a polygon but a smooth curve. And we'll be doing all that as well. So so I think all of this is stuff that you could technically do by hand. I tied in Excel because I find it a little bit more interesting. I'm going to save this for us and be able to email this out to you. Oh no, now everyone on the internet sees my stuff. No! So let's see, I'll save this as semester